Hi there, it's the original Hungry Nuts here. How are you doing? How are you doing? Look at the state of my hair. I'm going to be to dye it. I've got a pink hair dye that I went away and bought. It's not very good lighting here, but I'm charging the computer, so that's why the camera's maybe a bit dodgy. Look at my hair. It's really fine. My hair's really fine and thin. I'm 60-year-old though. Right, I went out yesterday. I had to go out yesterday. So I was out for about, let's say it must have just been about just over an hour. I had to go downtown in the city centre to pick up a birth certificate. Look at me, pulling my hair like that. Had to go and pick up a birth certificate because I lost my other one about 20 years ago. So I got one from the registrar's office yesterday. And then I just came straight back. David's not been here. He says he's coming up today. He might be up today. I got a phone call last night from David's sister Anne. Says it's just going to be coming up either tomorrow, Wednesday, or Thursday with Christmas gifts for her. So we've got a couple of Christmas gifts for Anne and her husband Neil. Right. I just thought I'd come on in here, we chat about something. And I'm watching the news, and while I'm watching the news, I've got a bowl of porridge. Got a bowl of porridge, Scottish porridge with porridge oats, and a coffee, a strong coffee. Skittles has been fed. Skittles has been fed. It's absolutely freezing. He's got his cover there. Put a cover on him. It's absolutely freezing. Sorry about the filming. The filming's not very good because the lighting in here's, well, mood lighting, if you know what I mean. It's dark, it's dark. Right. I've been watching the news. I'm having my porridge. Porridge will probably go cold. I'll probably have to pop it in the microwave. It's just a short video. One of the news stories. Know that it's, well, it is important actually, but no to me. But it's about youth unemployment in the United Kingdom, and your government, or their government, not my government, even though it is the government. I wouldn't vote for them because I find them a waste of space. So much for not speaking about politics on the channel. So much for not talking about politics on the channel. It's about youth unemployment anyway, and they're forcing young people into jobs, and if they don't do a job, they get their benefits cut. And they're saying, "Oh, it's never been like that before. It's just like that now." That's a lot of lies. That's a lot of lies when they say it's never been like that with young people. Because when I left school, way back in 1981, yes, my hair. When I left school way back in 1981, at the age of just turned 16 in November 1981, I left in December. There was no jobs. There was no jobs, but they did have this thing, and it was called Youth Opportunity Programme. And people my age, 16-year-olds that couldn't find a job, and there was a lots, let's face it, there was millions that couldn't find jobs, were put on this programme, Youth Opportunities Programme. And for sure, you were called a yopper if you were doing that. Oh, I'm a yopper. Yeah. And they had that, the Youth Opportunity Programme, and they also had another one, the Employment Training Programme, which was for, I think they were for like 18-year-olds and over. Now, when I left school, I couldn't get a job. Well, I did. I did get a job, but it was on a youth opportunity programme. So I was a yopper. And my first job was in a place called the Angus Hotel in Dundee. And I was a waiter, a silver service waiter. Now, when I started that job, it was for a 6-month period. You know, and they said, oh, they'll probably keep you on at the end of that. They never kept me on. They never trained us, to be honest. All they made me do was set tables and hoover the restaurant. I was always busy and fold millions of bloody napkins into, what do you call it, Prince of Wales feather napkins that I used to do. And set tables and hoover, and yeah, I think I served a couple of times, but not often. I used to take out food from the kitchen, and the other waiters who were full-time with a full wage used to serve the customers. But I was doing this for 6 months, hardly any training, and getting told to clean the staff room, for the other members of staff, you know, the full-time ones, clean their rooms for them, which I shouldn't have been doing. And the head boss at the hotel came down one day and she seen me cleaning one of the rooms, one of the staff's rooms, and said, "What are you doing, Murdo?" And I says, "I've been told to do this." "Well, that's not what you're here for. You're here to get training." Now, I never ever got any training as a civil service waiter. My wage a week back in 1981 was £25. That was what you got paid. £25 on a youth opportunity programme. And off that money I had to pay my bus fares. I never got any dinner. I was working eight hours a day from 8 until 4. From 8 until 4 I was working. But they actually asked me to come in earlier to do breakfasts. And I did it. It was a mug. I did it. My mum says, "Are you sure you're meant to be working before 8 in the morning?" And I was going down there like about 6:45 in the morning, you know, getting the bus, early bus and going down and working breakfasts. Mind you, I was finishing early, a couple of hours early, but when I found out about youth opportunity programmes, I shouldn't have been working at that time in the morning, you know, like 6:30, 7:15 in the morning, you know, helping out with breakfasts. Helping out with breakfasts was good because it was a couple of old people who were a waiter and a waitress, and I got on really well with them, you know, and they had respect for me. And yeah, they did have respect for me. And if there was any tips, they used to give me tips, share their tips with us. Whereas the other ones during the day wouldn't share tips or anything. But the old couple that used to do the breakfast, they were good with us. And they says, "Oh, Murdo, it's a shame that you're working for £25 a week." And on top of it, the £25 a week, I had to buy my own uniform. They didn't supply a uniform or anything. And this is a great big hotel, Thistle Hotels back then, the Angus Hotel. It doesn't exist anymore. It got knocked down a good few years back. And now in the place is a massive big shopping centre called the Overgate Shopping Centre. But that was my first job. Made to do these things back in 1981, youth opportunity programmes. So it's nothing new when they're saying on the news they're getting young people to do jobs, and if they don't accept the job they're going to stop their benefits. That was my first job, youth opportunities. I went on to do employment training, which was painting and decorating. And I shouldn't have been on it. They put me on this employment training thing. It was meant to be employment training, but what it was, this is bad English, what it was for people who had been in trouble with the police. It was like community service, you know, for people that get in trouble with the police and that. And they put me on this. I parked in after about 4 months, and the job centre said, "Why did you park that?" And I says, "I shouldn't have been on it." And they actually realised that I shouldn't have been on it because I'd never been in trouble, you know. But I'd done loads of employment training things after that painting and decorating course. God knows what it was. It was like a community service thing. And I hated it. I really hated it, you know. I was scared to go because there was total thugs. Some guys were like really tough, you know. And I was only like 16 and a half at the time. And I was quiet. I was really quiet. And I hated it. After that, I worked at Camperdown Park, which is a big park in Dundee. And they had to carry big bricks and everything without any work boots or that on this building site or anything. It was a big company. Can't remember the building company. But they had us working down at Camperdown Park on an employment training scheme. And we were treated like crap. For the same amount of money, £25. And no supplying work boots or anything for what, paying our own bus fares and our own dinners. So I hope you get the idea of what I'm saying about this young people getting forced to work, because 44 years ago back in 1981 when I left school, it was just the same. It was like made to go on these yopper programmes. And at the end of it, I never ever got a job out of it. Up to this day, I've never had a proper job apart from one. And the proper job that I got was from my brother-in-law, Brian, who now stays in Australia. married to my sister, Irene. Irene's got cancer. I don't know if Irene's still alive because the family didn't keep in touch with us. But they're out in Melbourne, Australia. Brian got me a job when he stayed in Dundee, at a place called Delta, and it was a big factory, Delta Carpillery. You know, I was a machine operator, and I was there for 2 years. And I remember getting my first ever wage. I was 20-year-old at the time. I got my first ever wage. Now, the only reason I got in Delta was because Brian was a gaffer, you know, like high up with the company. And that was the only reason I got a job. And I was there for 2 years. And it was coming at me like about £200, you know, a week. And I remember my first wage packet when one of the gaffers came up to us, you know, one of the head ones came up to us and says, Murdo, here's your wage packet. And I remember saying to him, is that all mine? And he laughed. He went, of course it is, of course it is. And it was like £200, and it was great to get a wage packet, you know. It lasted for 2 years. I was a temporary worker, but I got 2 years out of it. And I used to do night shift and everything, work night shift and that. It was great. And I really enjoyed that. But ever since then, it's always been like courses that I've been on. Hundreds and hundreds of courses, not getting paid for it. You know, doing jobs, voluntary jobs and that. I've never ever had a proper job. Now, I remember going to the job centre quite a bit there, going down to the job centre, and I think it was about 7 months ago I went down. And they says, have you ever worked? And I tell them about the job in Delta. Yeah, what else have you done? It says, well, I was a carer for my mum and dad. Oh, that doesn't count, she said. That doesn't count. And I went, excuse me, you're insulting me and you're insulting millions more people who are carers for their parents or people who need a carer. She went like that, but that's not a proper job. I went, oh, come on, of course it's a proper job. So there was a wee bit of an argument with her, you know, and I found it rather insulting that she says that carers who look after people it's not a job. Of course it's a job. She says, but that was your responsibility to look after your mum and dad. It says a lot of young guys and that would have walked away, you know, especially when they've got sisters. Even though my sisters were not in Dundee or my brother had passed away, you know. It was my responsibility to look after my dad, you know, and carry on with my mum after my dad died. So it's not that I was forced to do it. It's just that it was my responsibility to do it, more or less, if that makes sense. You know, I thought to myself, I'm in Dundee, my mum and dad's in Dundee, you know, so why not be the carer, you know? But, yeah, for somebody at the job centre to say that's not a proper job, I find it really insulting. So, that's sort of what I've done. Another job that I did have